Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on maximizing MotiveWave's order flow tools. I'm Joe, and I'm one of the product specialists here at MotiveWave. First and foremost, I would like to thank every one of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules in joining us today. Today's presentation will be approximately 40 to 45 minutes, followed by a 15-minute Q&A session. And we will also be taking one or two questions, quick questions in between sections. Today's presenter will be Jason, a futures trader and fellow product specialist here at MotiveWave. So let's take a look here at a brief overview of what will be covered today. We'll be going over chart scaling and spacing, volume imprint, order heat map and the big trade study, depth of market, and exit strategies. A little bit about MotiveWave. MotiveWave software is a very advanced, easy to use, highly customizable professional standalone trading platform with features that include order flow, scanners, custom strategies, backtesting, optimization, including genetic and exhaustive, walk forward testing, replay mode, reporting, and trade simulation. We also specialize in advanced analysis tools like Elliott Wave, Fibonacci, Gartley, Gann, Hurst cycles, and ratio analysis. MotiveWave has a product to fit any budget and trading style and is available for Microsoft Windows, macOS, and Linux platforms. Founded in 2010, MotiveWave Software is a privately held company based in Kelowna, BC, Canada, with over 50,000 users worldwide. A little bit of housekeeping, risk disclaimer. Trading futures and options on futures involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. The information provided here is for illustration and trading purposes only and is not trading advice. Please trade at your own risk. At this point, I am going to pass over the presentation to Jason. Jason, are you there?
Yep, I just unmuted. Can you guys hear me? Maybe just a quick yes in the chat, or we're all good, Joe?
All good.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks, Joe. So hi traders, welcome to the webinar. My name is Jason and I'm a product specialist at MotiveWave. I've been trading for over 10 years in a variety of markets, including equities and options, but my primary focus has been on futures order flow trading for the past 5 years. All right, so a bit about the webinar. We recently did a webinar on order flow that's available to watch in the videos tutorial section, the video tutorial section on our website. We had a few users reach out, let us know they weren't able to make it. So we thought we'd do a follow-up webinar that covers these topics, plus a few new ones, as well as some answers to common questions we received after the webinar. So today I'm going to make the assumption that you already know some of the basics of order flow, how trades are executed, as well as common trading language and acronyms. I would also like to mention that most of the features we talk about today are aimed at futures traders. The reason being is that a lot of futures brokers and data feeds provide the necessary data for proper volume analysis. For the DOM and order heat map sections, you'll need market depth, which is also called level 2. And for the volume imprint study, you'll need historical tick data. Not all futures connections provide historical tick data or market depth. So if you're unsure if your connection supports market depth or historical tick data, you can contact us at support@motivewave.com and we'll let you know. Also, please check our connections page to see what asset classes your connection supports. All right, so let's get started here. I'm just going to take you through the Study Quick Editor and the Toolbar Study Editor, which are new features that were added in version 6.3.1 of MotiveWave. So the Study Quick Editor allows you to quickly edit the main parameters of a study. You can do this by selecting the gear icon next to the study name in the top left corner of the chart. So right here we have the MA cross study. If we just left click this gear icon once, we can see we have some main parameters of the study that we're able to edit. So please note that not all study options will be available in this menu. What you can do now is use these sliders to quickly change these study settings without actually having to go into the study menu. So it can be a really quick way of editing the parameters of the study. Okay, so another new feature is the toolbar study editor, which allows you to add frequently used study options to your toolbar. So to do this, you'll need to get into the regular study menu, go over to the new toolbar tab that we added, select show in toolbar, and then you can use command or control on your keyboard and select the options that you'd like to display in the toolbar. So for this example, I'm going to select the fast period and the slow period. Select update, and you'll now see that we have these controls in our top toolbar. So we can go ahead and add the modify the slow period and the fast period of this MA cross study. So the new toolbar study editor will show up by default on all new workspaces. However, for existing workspaces, you'll need to add it to your toolbar by going into the configure preferences menu. Go over to the toolbar tab, select your toolbar. In this case, we're using the top toolbar. And then in the available actions, you're going to have to go down and find the study editor and move it over. So it's already here in this workspace, so I don't need to do that right now. So those are the new two new features I wanted to point out in version 6.3.1. So now let's move over to chart scaling and spacing. So one area that I didn't cover in the previous webinar was chart scaling and spacing. This topic is actually quite important for volume imprint, order heat map, and TPO studies, as it allows you to set a chart view so you can read numbers and text on the chart. This is something that auto scaling might not show depending on the range of the chart. So let's start with auto scale. In the top toolbar, you can see the auto scale button here. It's depressed, which means that it's on. So by default, MotiveWave will open a chart with auto scale enabled. This means that as you scroll back and forward in the chart, it keeps all price bars within view, no matter what the price range is of the bars. So once you turn auto scale off by clicking the button, you'll now be in price range scaling mode. This scaling method is best used for volume imprint, order heat map, and TPO studies. This is because you can set a vertical chart range in ticks, and it will keep this range even if your chart bars exceed the range. So let's use this TPO study as an example. So this TPO study we have set to show the letters. So we have RTH letters showing and ETH letters showing. And as you can see, we actually can't view those letters right now. So what we can use is chart scaling and spacing to show those letters. So let's just go ahead and remove the OHLC bars from the chart. So we have a couple things we can do. What we can do, first of all, is double click the chart to bring up your chart settings. Go over to the scaling tab. And since we're set to price range, we can set a lower price range, something like maybe 150 ticks. Okay. And as you can see, we still aren't able to view. So what we could do is set this to a lower number, possibly, maybe 100. And then you can see the letters are actually showing up. If we didn't want to do this, and we wanted to keep it at, say, a 200 tick range for the chart, we could actually go into the TPO study settings and set the tick interval from 1 tick. So each box is 1 tick. If we set this to something like 4 ticks, so every point will show, have a box size of 1. So if we apply that setting, we can actually see the TPO numbers and letters now. Another thing you can do in the TPO study, on the display tab, what you can do is just decrease the font size, and that will also help. So if we pop back into auto scale, you'll see that depending on the chart range, the letters may disappear. So that's one reason why you might want to use price range scaling. So let's go on to a second example now. So this chart is just a 3-minute chart. I have the volume imprint study added. This is likely what you'd see if you just added the volume imprint study. So let's go ahead and play with the chart scaling and spacing, as it can be a little confusing for new users. So right now, I'm going to remove the candlesticks And then what I'm going to do is click and drag the time axis, which is going to increase the bar size. So that'll just give us extra space in between the bar sizes, so the profiles are not overlapping. So we can keep going. There we go. So that's most of them. Now they're not overlapping. So this does most of the job. However, if we have a large range on the chart, what will happen is we won't actually be able to read the numbers. So we get into a large range, I don't know, something like that. You'll actually see that the numbers will disappear because the chart range is too high. So what we can do is just go to the scaling method, go to price range and set it to something like 70 ticks. And now this will keep a consistent 70 tick range for this chart. One thing to mention, which I didn't touch on, was the ticks from edge setting. So when you have this enabled, this will always keep the last price bar within view. So if I went ahead and scrolled down in the chart, it's going to automatically bring me back into that last price bar to keep it within view. The ticks from edge, this is the buffer. So it'll keep 6 ticks from the top and the bottom of your chart. This is useful for if you're, say, coming up into a support and resistance zone, you can see that zone ahead of time. All right, so that is all I have to show for the chart scaling and spacing. Do we have any quick questions?
Any questions, folks, before we move on? Okay, I have one here. Is there a way to have space from right axis from Aaron?
Now, Aaron, can you just confirm and want space between the profile and the
There's a way to
imprint
have space
candles? I think this might be what you're looking for, is the display bars percentage here. So you can double click the chart to bring up your chart settings. You can set the display bars percent. So what it's using is using 95% of the chart for the candles. So if we set this to something like 70%, you'll see now that it gives us a larger range. I'm not sure if Aaron, if that's what you were looking for.
Okay, we also have a question here from Spin the Coder. Hi, Spin. What data would be needed again for this? So I'm assuming it's referring to the tick data or the data required for the volume imprint.
Yeah, so for volume imprint, you would need historical tick data. You can contact us at support@motivewave.com and we'll let you know if your connection supports historical tick data.
Okay. Do we have time for one more?
Do we have a quick one?
Yeah, can I chart the bid and ask line?
Chart the bid and ask line. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. You can chart, we have in our chart settings here, on the indicators, you can chart the best bid and best ask. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to. And they can just be like a line across the chart, just like we have our last price. So maybe email us and just confirm whether that's what you want.
It says here the historical bid ask instead of the last.
Historical bid ask instead of last. We don't have that right now, so we just have the last price line. So that's actually could be a good feature request. I assume you just want 2 lines that are kind of stair-stepping together. We don't have that at the moment, but that could be something that we could add.
Yeah, I think there may be a study there. We'd have to check. I think there's a BidAsk study, but we'll have to check on that.
Okay.
Okay. We want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's move on.
Jason? Okay.
Yeah, okay, so next section. Okay, so now I'm going to take you through the volume imprint study, which is used to display volume, footprint, and delta charts. I'm just going to go through two popular examples really quickly here to show volume imprint and how to set them up. So there's a lot of options in the volume imprint study. I'm not going to go through all of them today. In this first example, I'm going to do a daily volume profile. So this is a very common profile used by many traders to see where price has been accepted and rejected. So a high volume node would be price acceptance and a low volume node would be price rejection. So you could use low volume nodes as support and resistance areas. So we have a very simple daily profile here. Let's just try to replicate this now in a new chart. So I can go ahead and click the plus icon here next to the other chart tabs, select chart. We're going to open up a new chart, 15 minutes is okay. And then we're going to go to the study, all studies menu and select imprint. There we go. For the column one, we're going to select the type as profile and we'll just do 10 daily profiles. So by default, the volume imprint study is going to try to place these profiles on whatever bar size you have. So since we're set to 15-minute bars, what it's going to want to do by default is set a profile for every 15-minute bar. And since we want daily bars, we're going to actually have to go to the options tab. And under the bar size setting here, we're going to have to uncheck chart bar size and set it to 1 day. So we can create that now. There we go, the imprint shows up. So let's go in and make a few changes to this study. First of all, I'm going to go back to the options tab and we're going to have this profile underlay the price bars. On the general tab, we're actually going to want to align this to the start of bar. So that's going to align it to the ETH start, so right on this line. In the display tab, we're going to set a max width. Sometimes the volume profile can be distracting if it's right over top of the last price candle. So let's just enable this setting and set the value to 200 pixels wide. And since we're using a column type of profile, we're going to go to the profile tab and we can change any of the necessary settings here. In this example, I'm just going to enable the value area and then just disable the range fill and the range fill lines. So once we update this study, we're going to see that that's a pretty close representation. The only difference is in this one, you can set the tick interval higher. So we can set it to 2 and that profile might look a little more pleasing once it updates. There we go. So that's a good example of the daily volume profile. So we can close this now and jump over to the second example. So this is a BidAsk footprint with imbalances. So this is a common profile that displays bid and ask volume, which can be very useful to see what's inside the bars themselves. It can also show buy and sell imbalances. Showing candlesticks on their own don't necessarily tell the whole story. With the BidAsk footprint chart, we can see buyers and sellers and their position in the market. So let's go ahead and try to recreate this chart. So we have BidAsk footprint and we also have a daily volume profile here. So we can open up a new chart and we have a 10 range bar, which is fine. Let's go ahead and go to study, recent, volume imprint. We'll select 100 imprint counts and then we'll create that. Now we're going to have to go through the whole exercise like we did before with the chart scaling and spacing. So we can go ahead and remove the bars since those are distracting. change the bar size. Set the scaling method to price range scaling, and then we'll do a ticks from edge setting of 6. So that's a good start. What we're missing is the imbalances and the profile. So let's go back into the volume imprint study. Since we're on the BidAsk profile type, we go to the BidAsk tab and we can enable show imbalance. Jump back over to the imbalance tab, and then we can enable a 200% imbalance. Just for this example, I'm going to set the text color at black, just so it's a fairly obvious what our imbalance is. And if we want to create a volume profile that is attached to the right side of the chart, we can go over to the Summary Profile tab, select Show Summary. The type profile is fine. With 150, that's fine. And we're not going to do visible bars. We're actually going to do a day, so 1 day total. And since we have a profile selected here, we can actually jump back into the profile section and make any necessary changes here. We're just going to show the value area again. We have POC enabled, so that's good. So there we have our example of a BidAsk footprint chart with, we can see our imbalances there in the black. So that's all I have to show for the volume imprint study. Do we have any quick questions?
We have one here. Can you get data from 2 different sources of data feeds? For example, for futures, from Rhythmic, and for regular stocks, can you pull the DOM data out of CQG and then chart data from a different source like Rhythmic or bar chart?
Yes, that is possible. If you want to use 2 different brokers at once, you're going to need the Professional or Ultimate edition. In the lower editions, you can use 1 broker with 1 data feed. You can contact us and we'll let you know if the combination you're looking for is available. Anything else, Joe?
Looking here. How could I change my chart to be range 12? So I guess they're looking for range bars.
Yeah, sure. So if you're on the order flow edition or higher, then you have access to non-linear bars. So what you can do is just double click your chart to bring up the chart settings. Go to the bar settings tab, and then change your bar size from, it will probably set to linear. You can set it to range. You know, we have tick, constant volume, Renko, hybrid Renko, all these options here. And then you can set the interval. So if you wanted a 10 range bar, you just set the interval to 10.
Okay, one more here. Can you place support resistance lines from imbalance?
They can be drawn. What we can do is draw lines. So if you go over to the imbalance tab here, we have the resistance line here and the support line. You just enable these, select update, and then it will draw them on the chart. They're not zones, but lines.
Okay, let's move on to the next section.
Okay. All right, so next section is the order heat map and big trades. Let's jump over to that page. Yeah, we're on the wrong one. There we go. So the order heat map and big trade studies can be combined to create a heat map of market depth levels and trade execution. So to start out, the order heat map study will display a background with a gradient of colors to show market depth on the chart. Please note that in order for this study to display anything at all, you'll need to have market depth or level 2 enabled for the instrument or exchange that you're using. So MotiveWave uses this market depth to display a visual heat map of the current and past market depth levels. Knowing where these levels are can help pinpoint short-term entries and exits. In this example here, I've customized the color scheme to show large resting orders in light gray and white, You can see right here at 36.34, we have a large offer. And then the bluey grays in this case are displaying lower volume levels and are not as important to me. So I myself like to keep them subdued in color and just blend them in with the chart background. Okay, so let's bring up the order heat map settings. So sometimes you get a really large bidder offer, say 100 to 200 ticks outside the market. This max depth level setting right here can be set to a lower number so that a large bidder ask way outside the market doesn't skew the color gradient, since we're not really concerned with bids or offers that are 200 ticks away, at least on the ES. You also have the ability to change the color map to a gradient of colors that you prefer. So you can go ahead and select, one of the built-in ones. We could update this. That one's really bright. You can go into more colors and you can set any gradient of colors that you'd like. So you can also increase the contrast, which will filter out the noise of smaller orders. And then you can adjust the opacity, so that will make the chart blend in. So as you can see in this example, up in the top toolbar here, I'm using the toolbar study editor, and I have it displaying the contrast and opacity. So let's go ahead and update this. We can use these sliders. If I want to increase the contrast here, I can do so really quickly. That's just removing the lower volume bids and offers, so we can really concentrate on the higher volume bids and offers. We can also adjust the opacity. We can lower it down so that the study blends in more with the background. So one way to enhance the order heat map study is to add the big trade study to this chart, which I've done in this second example. So I'll just hop over. Okay. So the big trades study will show trade circles of varying sizes depending on the volume. Big circles are large trade sizes and small circles for smaller trades. So let's bring up the big trades setting here. Okay, so when auto circle is selected, the circle sizes will be scaled according to max trade size on the viewable chart. So you can also hover over each of the trade circles to view the trade size. If you don't like the circles being auto scaled, you can actually select any option other than auto circle. If you use any of these other methods, so that would be circle, rounded rectangle, rectangle, you'll need to actually go over to the advanced tab to set the circle sizes yourself. The circle sizes will be determined by the font size that you select. So let's go ahead and do that now. And we can see that those are not, now they aren't being auto scaled. So let's bump this back to auto circle and update it. We had some very large trades there recently, which is why all these trade circles are looking very minuscule. Okay, so in the toolbar study editor at the top here, we have the order heat map, contrast, and opacity. And I've actually added the trades max trade circle size, so we could use this to increase the trade circle size or decrease as we see fit. I've also added the opacity, so we can actually reduce the transparency right here, or actually make the trade circles a little more transparent. And now you can see the trades in the background. By default, MotiveWave will show the largest trade over top of all the other smaller trades underneath. So in summary, these two studies combined are very informative for trade entry. They showcase where big players are positioned in the market. These are areas where reversals can occur. They can also show stop runs and large trap traders. As many of you may be aware, in version 6.3 of MotiveWave, we actually added the ability to display millisecond charts, which can be quite useful for the order heat map study. So you can access these charts by double-clicking the chart background to bring up the chart settings. On the bar settings tab, you can select interval type of millisecond and then select, enter in your interval. 100 milliseconds is what I'm using in this example. All right, so that concludes the order heat map section. Do we have any quick questions?
Here's a question. Can a heat map work for stocks or just futures?
It can work for stocks if your stocks connection that you have has access to level 2 or market depth within MotiveWave.
Okay, can you also do ticks instead of milliseconds?
Yeah, you can change this chart to any chart type that you'd like. You just go ahead into your bar settings. So this chart is just a regular chart. You could change it to, tick, range, Renko, anything you wanted.
Okay, can we modify the big trades opacity, but preserve the opacity of the numbers on a circle? I'm not sure what that means.
Do you mean the number, like the text?
Yes.
Was that Aaron? Yes.
Yeah.
Not currently, but that's actually a very good request, Aaron. We'll actually enter that. I can definitely see the point of wanting to see the text underneath. So we'll actually add that as a feature request.
We have a question regarding an iceberg indicator, whether or not we have one coming soon.
It's something that we've discussed. We don't have anything immediately planned. However, that can change. We have discussed it multiple times. It's just a matter of figuring out how we want to implement that iceberg.
Okay, let's move on to the next section.
Okay. All right. So the next section is the depth of market. So let's go over the MotiveWave DOM, also known as the DOM, excuse me. So we have the DOM here, or the DOM. Personally, I like to call it the DOM. So my DOM is pretty simple. I like to show the orders column, or I can move and cancel orders. The bid and ask columns, the bid and add ask, which shows the recent trades, and then the volume profile. If you want to add any DOM columns, you can do so by clicking this plus icon at the far right corner of the column header here. And you can see you can add, profit and loss ladder, bid delta, ask delta, and a notes column. I won't go through all the DOM columns this time, but if you're interested in what they are, you can check out the previous webinar that I did. I kind of go over them there. So for the top toolbar, this button right here will clear all the notes. So if you have the notes column up, you can press that button and we'll delete all the notes that you've created. This button right here will reset the at bid and at ask columns. So I can do that right now and it will clear all the recent trades. This button right here will recenter the best bid and ask into the center of the DOM. So if the DOM started getting away from us, we can manually recenter it by clicking this button. We can lock and unlock the DOM here so we don't accidentally place trades. This button right here will let us create, manage, and select DOM templates. And you can access the DOM preferences by clicking this gear icon here. I won't go through all the available options in the DOM preferences, but a few to mention are the recenter. So this is how many ticks away from the center the DOM will recenter itself automatically. So you can set this, you can enable it, you can disable it. The update interval we have it set to 100 milliseconds. That's just the refresh rate of the DOM. The bottom panel, you can add custom buttons, remove buttons, anything you want to do there. The rest of it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to quickly jump over to the BidAsk tab. So the BidAsk tab has market by order, MBO here. And for those that are unaware, the market by order allows you to see individual orders in the book. We can use this information to display actual limit order sizes in the DOM. You can see here in the offer column, the ask column, we can see there's an actual individual order of 40 contracts there, 43 there, 30 there, and 30 there. I have it filtered out to only show individual orders of 20 contracts or higher. So currently, MBO features are only available on Rhythmic connections or any broker that connects via Rhythmic. But just a heads up, development currently is looking into adding the MBO features for the CQG connection. We don't have an ETA for this feature right now, but it could be coming in the future. So let's close that. Now we can quickly go over trade entry on the DOM. First of all, what we can do is unlock the DOM so we're able to place trades. If you want to enter limit buy orders, what you'd need to do is click on a cell at the best bid or ask or lower. So you can see my cursor has a blue LMT, that stands for limit. So if I want to place a limit order, I can click in the bid column and I have a limit order. If I want to create a buy stop order, I need to place the buy stop order above the best bid and ask, and you can see my cursor actually changes from LMT limit to SDP stop. So I could create a buy stop order at 36.36 here. And obviously the same applies for the ask column. So that concludes the depth of market section. Do we have any quick questions?
We have one here. Can the DOM and the heat map be lined up? I guess maybe they're referring to the DOM price to be vertical. Yeah.
Not currently, but that is actually a very good suggestion. Who was that suggested that?
That was Jonathan.
Okay, Jonathan. Very good suggestion, Jonathan. Actually, we're going to write that one down as well. That's a good feature request. I know a lot of people like to have these sitting in lockstep. So whatever changes you see here, you'll see the DOM in lockstep with the chart. Okay.
Kate, what version of your product is required to get the MBO data? Well, I can look that up.
I believe we introduce MBO in 6.0.
Okay. Is the MBO available for equities as well?
No, MBO is exclusive to the CME exchange, so just futures.
And what version of your product is required to get the MBO data?
You're going to need order flow edition and higher.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next section.
Okay, so what time is it?
We're at 4:12.
We're 12 after here, so we can probably squeeze this in really quickly, actually. All right, so the next section is the exit strategies. So if you traded for more than a few days, you'll know that risk management is paramount in trading. It can really be the difference between profitability and blowing up your account, which is why we've included exit strategies in this presentation. So exit strategies can be automatically or manually attached to open positions from the DOM or trade panel. If your exit strategy is enabled, you can do so by clicking this little green power button here. Excuse me, it's green once it's enabled, white once it's disabled. The selected exit strategy will be automatically attached to any order that you place in the DOM, trade panel, or chart once you have this set to green. So let's go ahead and create an exit strategy and go through a trade example right now, since we have a few minutes here. So to create an exit strategy, you can go to the DOM preferences or the trade panel preferences. We're just going to expand this menu and go to the exit strategies. Click the little plus icon here to create a new exit strategy. We'll create a fairly simple one. This time we're going to do 2 steps. So we're going to remove one of these steps. So the quantity % field here, you want all of these steps to total 100%. So we're going to do 50% for this and 50% for this. So we're going to name this 16 stop, 24 target. So what we're going to do is have a stop offset of 16 ticks for both of these levels, and then a limit target offset. Let's go with 20 ticks and 24 ticks. So now that we have our exit strategy, we can select OK. OK again. And then from the exit strategy drop-down menu, you can see we can select our 16 stop, 24 target. So now we can enter in any trade we want. We can enter in a limit order and the exit strategy will be attached. We can also buy market. So let's do that now. We'll get an auto scaling mode so we can see our limit orders. So we see our limit orders there. We have 2 contracts on. We can see our stop orders here. Since this exit strategy is split up into 2 parts, we need to split up the stops. So you'll see there actually is another stop order underneath there. And we can just go ahead and flatten this now since the market is now closed. So we can attach that to any order as you place the orders, but we can also attach an exit strategy to an existing position. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire up replay mode here. I figured we'd run out of time. And then what we can do is we're going to run through replay mode. Right now I have it set to tick data, and we're going to go at 5 times speed factor here. We're just going to go ahead and run replay mode. And so what we can do is if we have an existing position, so let's turn off our exit strategies and let's sell market here. So now we're short 2 contracts, but we don't have an exit strategy attached at all. What we can actually do is enable exit strategies by clicking the power button. We can see that it turns green, so it's enabled. And if you click this paperclip icon, it's the attach icon, you can attach it to your average position price, so your open position, or you can actually attach it to the last price. And you can configure that in the DOM preferences menu here under exit attach. So your entry price or your last price. So we're just going to use entry price now, and then we're going to click the paperclip icon, and we're going to see that our exit strategy was attached. We can let that play out if we want. Should be pretty quick. And we'll flatten that. So that's just a really quick example of exit strategies. So that concludes the exit strategies section and the webinar presentation. So I'm just going to pass this back to Joe for the Q&A.
Okay, thanks, Jason. We're going to be starting the Q&A part of the presentation, but before that, what I wanted to show you was, Jason, could we advance that slide?
Sorry, there we go.
If you guys have not had the opportunity to download and install a 14-day risk-free trial, you can do so. Any questions, if you have any specific tech support questions, you can send them over to support@motivewave.com. If there's any sales-specific questions, of course, you can reach out to sales@motivewave.com. So let's start the Q&A part of the presentation for the next 15 minutes or so. Now, we're going to do our best in answering as many questions as we can during this time period. If your question is not answered, feel free to send it to support@motivewave.com, Or again, if it's sales related question, you can always send it out to sales@motivewave.com. Okay, Jason, so let's take a look at some of these questions here.
Okay.
Okay, we have one here from Neil Shaw. Can you please explain further on how we can see trapped traders in the order heat map?
Okay. Let's jump back over. Hopefully I have enough data loaded here. It's hard to find the perfect example. I was looking for one before the webinar if I could have found one. I didn't though. So let's just try to use, this is not a perfect example by any means. But one thing you'd be looking for to find trapped traders, or what I look for anyways, is you'll see price coming up, let's say coming up into this level, we'll see some large resting orders. So you'll see, bright white here in this example. Price will fly up. You'll see a lot of buyers buying into it. Price will hit this level, maybe punch through a little bit, and then price will start to reverse. So all these buyers are just getting absorbed by these sellers here. This isn't really a great example, to be honest with you. It's just anything I had immediately. Once price starts to drift lower in this scenario, we had a bunch of buyers in this area. Once price starts to drift lower, these guys are all offside. So what are they thinking? They're, oh crap, I'm in trouble. So what you can look out for is you'll see here that this seller here, actually when price came up into this level, he actually increased his offer size. So that these areas are getting hit and he's increasing his offer size. And as price moves down, someone else comes in here and is offering more large size. So if, this isn't a perfect example, but if this started to drift lower, you might actually see these buyers up here start to puke their positions, and then price would, drift back down into this area. So it would be nice if I had a better example. Unfortunately, we just didn't really have anything at the close here.
Okay, does a DOM work with the TradeStation feed?
TradeStation's current API doesn't send market depth information. And unfortunately, TradeStation's API also doesn't send tick data either.
Does the DOM have a break-even button?
Yes, it can be added. We have a break-even button there, or sorry, that's break-even right there. It can be added and customized. And then the exit strategy has a break-even button as well. So it's something that you could build in. So if your trade was 10, 12 ticks into profit, it would automatically move your stop to break even. Anything else, Joe?
We have one here. Is there a way to have the entry fill lines on the chart go away after trade is flattened?
Oh, okay. I think I see what you're saying. So you want the entries to show, but you want them to disappear. So as of right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but these are either on or off, so you can choose to not display them at all.
Correct.
Or display them, and you just have to manually remove them.
That's right.
That could be a feature request if that's something people are interested in.
Okay. I created a keyboard shortcut for recentering the DOM, but is there a configurable shortcut in preferences for refreshing or reloading the DOM's BidAsk prints?
Sorry, who was that?
That was Aaron Bradley.
Aaron. Sorry, Aaron, were you talking about a shortcut for the @bid and @ask columns? Yes, to clear them. Okay. We don't have that, do we now? I believe someone actually requested this. I don't know if that was you, Aaron. Someone recently requested this. I'd have to confirm, maybe email in, and you've had a few questions, Aaron, maybe send an email and we can go over any questions you have. I know that is a feature request. It's something that I think would be very handy to have. So we can definitely look at adding that if we don't have it now.
Okay, does the heat map work with AMP features?
So AMP will either connect through CQG or Rhythmic. If you're using either of those, yes. They both have access to historical tick data and market depth.
Can you place the price on the left and right side of the chart? So I'm thinking the price axis on both left and right side. No, I don't think that is not supported at the moment. Okay, what else do we have here? When I draw a line, it comes with a default setting. I would like to set my default setting template, color and size, so I don't have to change it every time I draw a new line. You could make the changes and then save them as defaults. I guess
Right,
depends.
so
Yeah.
you're talking about just like a trend line like this. If you're drawing a trend line, you can go in, change the color, any of the styling options you want, and then you can save defaults. Okay, so now we go ahead and on the trend line, it has those defaults saved. I don't know if that's what you're referring to. You can also create templates. So you could create a template, you could save it as a template name, and then if you want multiple, say you wanted a support resistance line, whatever, and then all you do is you could add the trend line, and then all you need to do is right click it, select template, and then select the pre-made templates that you have.
Can you run a stacked heat map for two products, NQ and ES, to look for confluence?
Stacked. By that, do you mean on top of each other?
What else
One
we
on
got
top
here?
of the other. Robert, yeah, I've never, to be honest with you, I haven't tried that. Robert, would you mind sending us an email? I'll quickly run through that after the webinar. I'll see if that's possible. Initially, I want to say probably not, but we can look into it. I'm not sure if you could add a study or an instrument overlay. I'm not sure if that would work. Initially, I want to say that's probably not available.
Okay, can you create a template on the TPO?
Where did I have that? You can save defaults. So we don't actually have a way to save a template. So that could be a feature request. Who was that? Just so I know.
Ryan Resch.
Ryan. Okay, yeah, Ryan, we can look into that for you. That could be an option. I know some of these larger studies like TPO and volume imprint are studies that are fairly complex, and it might be beneficial to add the ability to, create templates within those studies. I suppose you could do a chart template, just set everything the way you like it, and then just use a regular template that way. But that's probably not what you're looking for.
In the DOM, can bid and ask delta numbers stay rather than disappear?
Okay. So you're talking about the bid delta, ask delta?
I'm not clear on that.
I believe so. I
would think so.
Bid delta, ask delta. So these columns, right? So these columns reset after price changes. This is something that we've discussed and we haven't quite decided on, but yes, this is another option we would like to implement, is maybe a timer or a certain range. So we're going to need to figure out, what users would want the most. So on Sierra charts, they remain. They remain for how long, I guess is the question, is when are they reset? Or are they reset, I guess. So that's something that we're definitely looking into. I have it on our feature request sheet, and it's definitely something that's important to us. Like every minute or two. Okay, Neil. Yeah, Neil, we definitely know about this. It's something that we're gonna look into adding. It does
Okay,
become not as useful if they're resetting every price change. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry about that.
okay, no worries. Let's see if we got time for one or two more here. Is there a way to customize the time frames at the bottom of the chart?
Yes, there is. So you go to Configure Preferences menu. Let's see if I remember where this is. Chart. And is it the bar size selector? It's the bar size selector, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah, you can add there.
And then you can add.
Yeah.
So you can add, non-linear bars as well as linear bars. And then that'll show up. I believe you're talking about just down here. So you can add and remove these if you want.
Is there a way to also remove the pending orders when you flatten a position in the trade window? Now I need to press cancel all as well. And if I forget, new positions might open. Spin on that one.
Yeah, source bin, not currently. Right now, you'll just have to do the cancel all. And just to mention the flatten all button, will cancel all outstanding orders on that instrument before it flattens the position. So that's a button that you can use to exit if you need to.
Okay. That's it for questions, I think. I know there's more questions there. Like I said, we're within some time constraints, but if your question, again, is not answered, feel free to send it to support at MotiveWave.com. Again, if it's a sales-related question, please send it to sales@MotiveWave.com, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Okay, bye guys. Thanks for coming out.